What is going on, everybody? It is the Wednesday edition of the PrizePicks Prop Show here at FTNFantasy.com. My name is Zach Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS, ready to walk us through this two-game playoff slate in the association tonight. Hard to top Monday's action with Tuesdays, but still some decent games. Not great on the prop side yesterday. We get off the playback stream, check that those PrizePicks entries, and Yusuf Nurkic is over his number. Then I don't know if it was the stat correction, some late game turnovers or what. He ends up I think less than a point below that fantasy score number. Same thing with Pat Bev. We nailed the Miles Turner and the Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith actually DNP CD last night for the Pacers. So not our best night, right? We try to go perfect here tonight on Wednesday. And we've only got two games to choose from, of course. Finishing off all of the game twos here tonight. Heat Celtics will get us started, then Pelicans and Thunder. The nightcap, and in terms of those Vegas spreads, right, you're looking at Boston, rather, 14.5-point home favorites, just a 203.5 implied total. We've got a sub 200 total coming on Thursday in Orlando. That nightcap tonight, Thunder, favored by 7.5 currently, 211.5 implied total. So before we get to the tool, just want to remind you, if you haven't signed up yet at PrizePicks, you can do so using the promo code FTN. That will get you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100, and you can get that same offer over at Underdog Fantasy. So if you haven't signed up at Underdog yet, you can scan that QR code that's on the screen right now. And again, that promo code FTN will get you that deposit match bonus up to $100 with Underdog. But if you download the Sleeper app right now, that same promo code gets you a deposit match bonus up to $500 with Sleeper. So take advantage of those offers, right? You want to take the free funds when these sites are giving them out, and then head over to FTN Fantasy because, of course, last week rebrand happened, all under one roof now at FTN Fantasy, and new pricing here with FTN. You can join VIP Plus today for a year. It's going to be a little less than $25 a month here, $299.99 for that VIP Plus annual subscription. That will get you access to all of our tools and content we have here at FTN, including all of our betting models, our DFS projections, our advanced stats, and more. And of course, full access to all three of our Discord servers, where you can find the Pick'em Games channel, where it's not just myself and Alex Blickel giving out more picks throughout the day, but you'll see Chris Meany in there, Meany on a heater, another one, I guess is the appropriate term for Chris Meany, and Kenneth Lee doing some good work as well. So again, new pricing here. I think that's probably one of the best offers, prices, values in the industry for what you're getting. So that VIP Plus subscription, come join us here at FTN Fantasy. Let's get to the tool. Let's get to the picks here for the day. And we'll start in that first game. Okay, Miami still without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier here tonight. Once again, thrusting Tyler Hero into that point guard role in the starting group. And Hero, he's going to be hounded by that elite backcourt duo that the Celtics are boasting this season, right? Derek White and Drew Holiday. And because of this, his turnover prop is set at 3.5 right now on PrizePicks. Tyler Hero averaged 2.2 turnovers per game on the season, turning it over 4 or more times in just 8 of his 42 appearances this season. Of course, slightly different now. No Lowry, bought out, or traded to the Hornets rather, bought out now with the Sixers, and Rozier, who came in that trade, out as well. But let's take a look at that game flow from game one, because Delon Wright has been taking on a larger role for this team throughout the play-in and into game one. And those two shared the floor for about 12.5 minutes, which was like half of the time that Delon Wright was out there. So taking Hero off the ball some greatly decreases the likelihood of turning it over at a high rate. Or at least just the raw number of turnovers here, right? So I like this less than selection on 3.5 turnovers for Tyler Hero, and the FTN data model likes this selection as well. So that's where we're going to start today. Data model has him slightly under 2 turnovers. So we've got a little bit of buffer there between the model's projection and that line. Now we'll go to the second game, right? And we'll take a look at the Pelicans here. We're going to grab a couple props from the New Orleans side of things here. And as we go, just a reminder, feel free to fire questions into that YouTube chat, and we can discuss any props, any questions on props, rather, that you may have, any of those props that you're eyeing. Happy to give a second pair of eyes. So let's get back here to the Pelicans and Jonas Valanciunas, who has been thrust back into a larger role here with the injury to Zion Williamson in the first play-in game. He and Larry Nance should continue to split the 48 minutes at center as they did in game one. J-Val got 29 of those minutes in that first game, and he was massive on the boards. Gobbled up 20 rebounds, 9 boards, which was more than the entire Thunder team combined. They finished with 8 offensive rebounds. But from a real hoops perspective here, I don't think the Pelicans are going to be able to get away with nearly 30 minutes of J-Val out there as much going forward in this series. If you've watched him play before, anytime in the last, 2 seasons, he's the definition of a stiff on defense. And I expect to see OKC continue to put J-Val in as many pick and roll actions as they possibly can. You saw a lot of it in the first game, going back and watching all of the screen and roll actions for the Thunder when J-Val was on the floor. Man, if Chet Holmgren doesn't miss a lob on his first roll and then lose the ball that was put right into his pocket on the next, I think we might have seen that center rotation play out a little bit differently. So looking at those clips and then seeing what the tool, the FTN data model, is spitting out here in terms of a less than selection on Jonas Valanciunas' rebounds, it's set at 11.5. It is the top prop selection here in the PrizePicks tool. And now, do I think Jonas Valanciunas is going to go sub 9 rebounds tonight? That would be a little bit of a surprise, but that's what the tool is indicating here. And again, like that hero prop, we've got some buffer between what the model is spitting out and that line. So there's a little bit of room for error here. And again, this isn't a pick because J-Val isn't an elite rebounder. It's because I think he can just get played into a much smaller role tonight. If OKC rather can execute a bit more cleanly and knock down some of the open shots, because again, into the second half as well, they were getting pretty much whatever they wanted when they put Valanciunas into those actions. So again, data model likes it. I like the idea of going on a less than selection here on Jonas Valanciunas, 11.5 rebounds. So there's our first two. And now I want to turn to the fantasy score board here on PrizePicks, because that is kind of my bread and butter here. That's what I like to look at first when they do pop up, and those have populated here on Wednesday morning. Let's look to maybe grab some correlation here, and we won't be able to see that in the tool. Like I mentioned the last few streams, we're still getting that fantasy score prop integration into the tool. But I think we can see on the surface that if we're looking for some less thans for Jonas Valanciunas, and we're thinking that his minutes come down, that Larry Nance's minutes will pick up into the mid-20s here. And so I think we can grab some correlation from a more than selection on Larry Nance Jr.'s 18.5 fantasy points here, and pairing that with Jonas Valanciunas less than 11.5 rebounds. It just feels like a very solid correlation play to make here. Nance, 0.89 PrizePicks fantasy score points per minute this season. And so I like these slightly, or a slight lean to the more than. But if you don't like that fantasy score prop, and our model isn't spitting out a very strong lean in favor of the more than selection here, that's more just coming from my noggin and trying to predict this game script. If you don't like that fantasy score prop, take a peek at Larry Nance Jr. more than a half dunk today, because if you go back and look at the dunk stats from this season, exactly a third of Larry Nance Jr.'s made field goals this season were dunks. So half a dunk here, I'm with it. So either one of those Nance props, I'm fine with. And I think just kind of salt to taste there on which one you would put into your entry here today. Now, I want to take a look at another Pelican here, and it's a more than selection on Trey Murphy III, set at 31.5 fantasy score right now on PrizePicks. Murphy has been awesome this season, and from a real basketball standpoint, I think he's shown a little bit more to where this guy, like the size combination with the shooting, and now he can put it on the floor a little bit. His defense has improved. We're talking about real basketball here. We can talk about this prop. I guess that's why we're all here. Back in that starting role with Zion sidelined once again. In his last 10 regular season games this year, Trey Murphy averaged 37.7 minutes per game to go along with 35.38 PrizePicks fantasy score per game. And again, this is the same type of minutes role that he's in this series with no Zion. Game one, game high 44 minutes for Trey Murphy III, 40.8 PrizePicks fantasy score. We're not just game log watching here. It's about the minutes, the projected minutes rather, and the increased role he has with Williamson absent. To me, 31.5 is too low of a line here, and the FTN data model agrees. We've got him around 34.5 fantasy score here this morning. So let's add one more. We'll get to some comments, some questions here in a moment. Back to that first game, the first one that stuck out to me, and I already gave this out in the Pick'em Games channel this morning. Derek White, more than 27.5 fantasy score here. Derek White contributes across the box score, can rack up multiple stocks, can score the ball as well. And with Boston running an 8-man rotation, even with the game out of reach down the stretch in game 1, his minutes floor is extremely safe, barring foul trouble or injury, of course. And we've got Derek White projected around 21.5 PrizePicks fantasy score in the FTN data model. For good measure, he's exceeded 27.5 fantasy score in 4 of his last 5 playoff games against this Miami team. Of course, slightly different Miami team here compared to what he was seeing in the conference finals last year, but just a little extra cookie for the more than selection on Derek White, 27.5 fantasy score. So we've got 5 picks in there. Good to see Damian tuning in. And Richard asking, which way are we leaning here on Chet Holmgren, 2.5 blocks? Off the noggin, Richard, I like it. But checking out what the data model has here this morning, we're looking at 2.94 stocks for Chet here. So the lean from the model is also a more than selection. But I'm not surprised if he comes up with 2. Yeah, I'd be shocked if he comes up with 0. So that's not one of my favorite props of the day. Certainly not one of the worst ones I've seen on the board. And I would lean more than 2.5. Oh, and excuse me, you said blocks there. I'm thinking stocks. Just blocks alone, the model has them for 2.2. So I would lean to the less than selection there. But I think for my own purposes, it would be a stay away for me. So I hope that helps a little bit. And any other questions, you guys fire them in here. We'll be here for about another minute. Again, running down the props that we have in here from the stream today. We've got Tyler Hero, less than 3.5 turnovers. We've got Jonas Valanciunas, less than 11.5 rebounds. We're pairing those with Larry Nance, either more than 18.5 fantasy score or more than a half dunk. I like both of those props from Larry Nance Jr., more than 31.5 fantasy score for Trey Murphy, and more than 27.5 fantasy score for Derek White. So I don't see any new comments popping up. So I appreciate you guys tuning in here, whether you caught it live or on the replay. And of course, you can find me in that Pick'em Games channel of the FTN Fantasy Discord. Join us here, tag me in that channel, and we'll talk through any other props that you may have. And I see T-Bone in here. Favorite MLB props. Alex Blickel's going to have some MLB props later on today. That's not a board I've looked at this morning. We've been honed in on NBA. So again, you can get the great Alex Blickel and his MLB prop picks today in that Pick'em Games channel of the FTN Fantasy Discord. And again, I'll plug it once again. The new pricing here, VIP Plus access for a full year, $299.99, slightly less than $25 a month. That gets you access to everything we have here at FTN Fantasy, all of the tools, all of the content, all of the betting models, DFS projections, advanced stats, and again, access to all 3 of our Discord servers. So we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, talking PrizePicks once again here tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning in, and good luck tonight, everybody.